Hello, beautiful people. My name is Rooney. I teach and equip nonprofit founders to transform their board and raise money sustainably all by themselves. You don't have to depend on anyone to raise money or build your organization, and that's exactly what I do. I'll provide you the information, provide you the tools you need so that you can be successful. So today we're going to be talking about a very important subject within the nonprofit world: how to transform your board from a passive board into a powerhouse team. How to get your board members to step up so that they can support you, so that they can be able to give you their best as you go about building your organization. Now, one of the challenge the nonprofit world is experiencing are board members that are not stepping up. So many board members think it's all about the title. Many think it's all about, being part of a clique rather than a responsibility. And this has affected every aspect of the nonprofit work. Because what we've noticed is if you struggle with your board, you're most likely going to struggle to raise money. If you struggle with your board, you're most likely going to struggle to build your organization. In fact, if you don't have a great board, there's every tendency that your organization will never grow beyond the startup phase. Why? Your board members, even though they are not staff, they are like the very first staff of the organization. If they don't put in the energy that's needed to grow the organization is going to remain stagnant. And the truth of the whole matter is the nonprofit world is not a one-man show. So it's not possible for just one person to ride the waves and achieve the success an organization should achieve. The nonprofit world is a world of collaboration. It's a people's world. So you need people, and that's why you need great board members to be able to build with you. So what we're going to talk about today is how you can move from, not just moving your board from a passive state, but also building your board into a level where they can all commit and give you their best. So I want you to follow me. I want you to watch to the very end because this is going to change your approach towards your board. This is going to change your approach towards your nonprofit work in entirety. The very first step of the process is what we call the board reactivation. This is mainly for organizations that their board members are inactive, that their board members are passive. You need to be able to reactivate your board. Why? Because some of your board members may still be worth their weight in gold. Many founders think once they have disengaged board or once they have passive board members, the next thing is just to fire them or let everybody go and then they go bring in new board members. But the truth is this: regardless of the fact that some of your board members are worth their weight in gold, right? Another important thing you should consider is that there's a very reason that have made your board members passive in the first place. If you do not understand why your present board is passive and not giving you their best, you're most likely going to bring in new board members who are going to repeat the same dysfunction. This is why your very first step is to go through the board reactivation process. And to go through the board reactivation process, we do what we call the board audit. The board audit helps us understand, one, those who are ready to recommit, two, those who are willing to step down so that they can step down gracefully, and then three, the reason why your board is the way it is. Whether it's about your leadership, it's about the board approach, you need to be able to identify that. And then you will now have to re-engage those who are willing to step up to get them to recommit and then start engaging them strategically. So that's where board reactivation comes in. And those who are willing to step down, you help them step down gracefully, whether into other aspects of the organization or entirely off the board. This is how you get your board members back up, because some board members will still be valuable to your organization and they are still willing to give their best, but maybe your leadership approach, how you've built your board, was the reason they were where they are in the first place. So this process, this first step is going to help you get those who are still willing to recommit, let go of those who are tired of staying, and then begin focusing on building your board with the right people who are willing to give their best. The second step of the process is the board recruitment. So when you do the board audit, you're going to identify the gaps within your board, because you need a powerhouse team with the complete skills and expertise to help your board win. Lacking in any area may affect your execution. And you may be surprised that so many organizations that are struggling with fundraising today do not even have a professional fundraiser within their board. So this can drain any board or limit any board from creating the results they want to create. So you have to be able to bring in the right board members to complement your board. One, for those who have stepped off, you need to be able to bring in new board members to take their place. Two, to bring in the necessary skill sets, the experience you need for your board to succeed. And like I always say, the quality of board members you bring in is as important as the process you bring them in through. If you simply invite people into your board, you're most likely going to have them disengaged in no time again. So you have to be able to take them through the right board recruitment process where they get to apply, they get to go through an interview, you onboard them before you finally invite them into the board, including even running a background search, especially for organizations that deal with vulnerable people. Now, you've reactivated your old board, you've brought in new board members. The third step is strategic planning. This is where we get the commitment of board members. In community development, we say people who plan together execute together. So without that level of planning with them, getting them to plan the entire organization from programs to fundraising to marketing to budgeting, they may never understand the resources and the effort needed to help the organization win. So by taking them through strategic planning, you are helping them see what's needed to help the organization win. You are getting them involved in the process of shaping the future of the organization. This gives them a sense of joint ownership. And then lastly, at the end of the strategic planning process, you have to delegate responsibilities. And that's where you empower them to start taking charge of different areas of the organization. Now you've reactivated your old board, brought in new board members, gotten their commitment by planning with them and delegated responsibilities. The fourth step of the process is team building. As I usually say, it is not your role or that of your board to do the work. It is your role and that of your board to create the roadmap and build the team that does the job. So if you find yourself doing everything, that's because you're not approaching the process the right way. You need to be able to equip your board members with the right team to help them execute. For the board member that's been delegated with fundraising, you need to be able to provide them teams that they can work with to raise money. You can't expect your board member to go out there to wear them out by asking them to go do this mundane operational stuff. The board members, their role are the high level stuff, which is leadership and oversight. So you should be able to equip them with teams that they can work with, that they can provide leadership and oversight to, so that they can help you create the results you seek. And if you do this right, you find that every area of the organization has different teams running for the different areas of the organization. For marketing, there's a team working with a board member who's executing the plan for marketing for that organization. For partnership, there's a team member that's working with the board member in charge, executing that aspect for that organization. Now you've reactivated your board, brought in new board members, planned with them, brought in team members to work with them. The last step of the process is board execution. This is where board members begin to work with their teams to execute, while you hold these board members accountable and these board members hold their teams accountable. This is the step-by-step process you have to follow to reactivate your board and get them to start building with you, building the organization your mission deserves. Anything short of this, you're most likely going to struggle and keep doing everything all by yourself. Most founders have already taken on the name Chief Everything Officer. While that name may sound good, but I'll tell you this, there's a better approach. And that approach involves working with your board members to build out the different aspects of the organization. And it doesn't end here, of course. If you and your board members can build to the point where you all are executing together, with time, you begin to bring in resources. And as money comes into the organization, you can begin to let go of volunteers, bring in full-time staff, and then overall bring in a departmental lead that can take charge of leading these teams, and then your board members can step back into the governance role. That's how you and your board members can build an organization you all can be proud of, an organization you all can look back to and see the good work you have done. Without this process, you're most likely going to struggle. So I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two today, and I hope you've been able to learn the right process that you're going to be following to execute and start creating those results you seek. I'll see you tomorrow where we talk more on specific steps on how to raise money, work with your board members to raise money so that you can begin to create the result your organization seek. Like I always say, my role is to show you, to teach you and equip you with the tools and the resources and the information you need to be able to create results, to be able to transform your board, to be able to raise money sustainably without depending on anyone or without, all by yourself, basically. So I'll see you tomorrow where we dive deeper into these topics. Like, follow, share this so that more people can learn how to begin to take charge of their organization. Bye for today.